Cinema, described as film noir, emerged between 1940 and 1960, and with it the character role of femme fatale was reinvented. There is no agreement among scholars or film critics on whether film noir is a style or a genre or a hybrid or a movement, or if it even exists at all.
Well, you could get wetter if you lay down in the gutter.
It can be argued, however, that it fits into the concept of genre, in that it is a type, a kind, a category, a concept, or an idea. Although there were some early examples of this style in the 1930s, with Fritz Lang's M in 1931, or You'll Only Live Once in 1937, there are isolated examples that fit well into other categories such as social anatomy or gangster films, whereas the noirs came as a barrage. Film noir, or black film, emerged in Hollywood of reduced resources, influenced by the postmodern aesthetics of German Expressionism, French poetic realism, pulp fictions, and Freudian psychoanalysis, in a very dark world, threatened by political extremism and changing social roles, as well as death and destruction of epic proportions. The classic period for this genre is considered to start with The Maltese Falcon in 1941 by John Huston and end with A Touch of Evil in 1959 by Orson Welles. The genre has become noted for its use of shadow, stark, chiaroscuro, and oblique camera angle cinematography. Its dark, dystopic urban environments, as well as its flashback, voiceover, and altered states of reality structures and narrative devices. There was a predominant mood of doom, cynicism, paranoia, and ambiguous sexual identities during the era that permeated all walks of life in many parts of the world, but especially in Hollywood, where many of Europe's creative talent were received in escaping fascism.
Say, Charlie, do you suppose J.J. is running around with that young lady? It looks that way.
Noir's introduction of the reinvented femme fatale was thought by some to depict a more empowered woman, reflecting changing perceptions and social roles in society during the era. Others argue, however, that it was simply old values dressed up in a new frock. Such insight has led to discussions about motivated sex and gender representations in film noir, and how noir's femme fatale has been interpolated in other genres and mediums of popular culture.
I had to make you prove it the hard way, to ever really know. A few minutes ago, I didn't dare do this. Now I can, Mike. I'm doing it so that you know I can.
I never thought it could happen. I've been waiting so long for things to be like this.
With the thawing of the pre-war production code freeze on creativity, film noir pressed the boundaries by reinventing the character role of the femme fatale, or dangerous woman archetype, to portray Hollywood's version of realism with a more independent, aggressive, exotic, and evil temptress than had ever previously been seen in cinema.
Isn't this place marvelous? Look at those faces. Half of them are Eurasians. Who said never the twain shall meet? Java, Sumatra, Hindu, Chinese, Portuguese, Filipinos, Russians, Malayan. What a witch's Sabbath.
If anyone saw us coming in here, I'd certainly hear plenty. The other place is like kindergartens compared with this. It smells so incredibly evil. I didn't think such a place existed, except in my own imagination. It has a ghastly familiarity, like a half-remembered dream. Anything could happen here. Any moment. Look at that Arabian or whatever he is. I wonder, does he sleep in his bed?
The character role developed a stereotype of woman whose power and energy is expressed through sexuality and used to manipulate men to achieve their goals, and have the same freedom as men to commit murder or adultery, but their independence is won through immoral means.
It's the same thing. But you know, I'm pretty tired of both of us. You know, for a smart girl, you make a lot of mistakes. You should have let me live. You're gonna need a good lawyer.
Through a cultural theory lens, a critical analysis of Noir's representation of women through the stereotype of the femme fatale suggests that the aesthetics of Noir's Femme could be seen to be reinforcing the dominant cultural values of a patriarchal system and the global political economy. Film critics and scholars have suggested that the femme noire is simply age-old misogyny in a new guise, since their sexual empowerment can be interpreted as a new version of the male gaze or male sphere fantasy and objectification, since they are all gorgeous, kept women of hypersexuality, who seem to enjoy being the subject of male voyeurs and have a tendency to be violently beaten, abused, or murdered by men.
You like cops, do you?
Don't, Vince, please.
Where'd you go with them?
My arm!
I asked you a question. Where?
I only saw him on the street. Only the street!
I suggest we call it a night.
I suggest you shut your mouth. Where'd you go with Banyan?
Nowhere. Nowhere! He dropped me over the gaiety!
Oh, the gaiety. Oh, you pig. You lying pig. I'll fix you in your pretty face.
Vince, she scalded.
She had it coming.
Don't just stand there. Get it to a doctor. You'll have to make a police report.
That's why we're sending you. Go on, get moving.
I'll try.
Shut the door.
With this view, the fact that people are interpolated by other people's language and behavior, as well as by media texts, is disconcerting, since the overwhelming share of what contemporary mass cultures know of the world comes from mass media dominated by men. It is not through one message, but through the repeated messages of limited portrayals of women in stereotypical roles, such as the femme noire, that create a cumulative impact of messaging over time. As the aesthetics of femme noire have been propagated through cinema and other media over the last several decades, it can be seen as reinforcing the ideology of male dominance and gender conformity in national, political, economic, and philosophical values. The pugilistic eroticism, misogyny, and obscene tropes of femme noire are today embodied by entertainers such as Sharon Stone, Angelina Jolie, Madonna, and others, and in this way both construct and reflect these values in the global political economy.
everything okay? We heard an awful ruckus.
No, everything's fine here. Yeah, it's great.
So you're fine?
Yeah, couldn't be better.
Oh, nice. You guys are
Susie,
fine.
Martin,
Have a nice night.
officers.
Looks like you're redecorating. It's right. Yeah.
Shame about the right out.